Today we're going to be covering 8 tips that I wish I knew when I started my Tascam Portastudio recording journey. Now, most of these tips are going to center around the Tascam 244, which is this unit right here, but a lot of these principles are applicable to other Tascam Portastudio models. Tip number 1 is gain staging and finding that VU sweet spot. So one of the cool things about the Tascam 244 is it actually has these VU meters right here. When you are dialing in your signal, you're going to want to make sure that it's right around 0, so right where this red meets the black. And the way you do that is with both this fader and with the trim knob. So getting a good signal is super important to getting good recordings. So always make sure you take the time to really dial in and make sure that your levels are just kissing the red. Tip number 2 is going to be properly using the monitor switch, which is this switch right here. So using this monitor switch is something that I see trips people up a lot. So if you're on the far left, that is remix mode, and that's what you'd be using when you're mixing down your final track. So if all of these channels are on tape and you're on remix mode, this will allow you to use the faders, the EQs, everything else. However, if you are in the process of recording and overdubbing, you actually want to be on Q mode. So for example, let's say I just recorded something on track 1 and I want to move over to track 2. If I have track 2 switched to mic line and I keep it on remix mode and this fader is up, whatever I record on track 2 will also pick up what's on track 1. So the actual proper way to do this is you want to turn down all of the tracks that you're not recording, switch any other tracks you're not recording to off, and make sure you're on Q mode. And on Q mode, these 4 knobs right here correspond to tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is your tape cue section, and you're going to want to monitor your signals this way. So if you have it set up like this, whatever you record on track 2 will be standalone and won't be picking up anything else from any of the other channels. Number 3 is ping pong bouncing. You've probably heard me mention this several times in the video. Although this is only a 4-track machine, it does have the capability of combining tracks onto a clean track. So the ping pong method is something that everybody should learn, and what ping ponging is mixing down up to 3 tracks onto a new track. So the way you do that is, let's say I have things recorded on tracks 1, 2, and 3. Let's say I have guitar, bass, and keyboard. What I'd want to do is set these all to tape, and I'm going to want to move these over to track 4. So I'll lift up the track 4 fader, set this to mic line, and then right here I'm going to set it to track 4. Now as you can see, this switch right here, it also says bus R, so that means that anything that's bust right is going to go to either tracks 2 or 4, whichever position I have this in. So if I bus tracks 1, 2, and 3 to the right, everything is gonna now record on track 4 when I engage the record function down here. It is really important to make sure that your levels and your EQs are all set before you do this. Tip number 4 is about picking the right cassette tape. Now, the 2 main types of cassette tapes you're going to encounter are type 1 and type 2. Type 1, like this tape right here, is called normal bias. These tend to be a lot cheaper, however the fidelity is a lot lower than with a type 2 tape, and you'll get more of that characteristic tape sound, more dropouts. Overall a lot less reliable than type 2, but if you're just starting out, I'd say type 1 are plenty fine to use. This tape right here is type 2, and it's called a high bias tape, and this is going to get you the best quality possible for this format. These are a lot more expensive. As of this video, they can range anywhere from $10 to $15 a tape, which is quite pricey, so just keep that in mind, the differences. Another thing that I recently learned is that tapes come in different lengths, obviously. So there's 45, there's 60 minutes, 110, I think it goes up to 120, maybe more. The higher the length, the less fidelity the tapes can have. So if you want the highest fidelity, you actually want to look for tapes that are fewer minutes versus something like this that's 110 minutes on the long longer side. So just something to keep in mind. The next tip is about aux controls. Now, the Tascam 244 actually has a couple of different ways to send aux. And when I say aux, I mean busing, external effects, aux controls. So one of the cool things about the 244 is each channel has its own individual send, and that's what you control with these green knobs here. So the more clockwise you turn it, the wetter the send will be. And then this little inside knob that you have is the panning. So you can actually pan effects fully in the stereo field. These switches right here, pre, post, and off, if you have it set to pre, then the signal that you send will bypass the faders and the EQ. If you have it in off, then this function won't work at all. And if you have it in post, any EQ or leveling that you do will be applied before it hits the effect. So each one of these channels has these little metal hooks in the back. So you would actually take these out and then route it out to whatever effects pedals you have. This green knob right here is the aux receive. Turning it to the right will give you more effect, and turning it to the left will give you less. The next tip is properly using pitch control. Now the pitch control knob is located right here, and you can either slow down or speed up the global track tempo. Now, a lot of people use it in the final state, maybe turn it up a little bit to get a little bit higher pitch on your vocals, or conversely turning it down to get more of a chopped and screwed vibe. But one thing that I really like to do is actually use it for the recording process. The Beatles were actually great at using this trick. If you've heard their track In My Life, in that piano solo, they actually moved the pitch control knob down all the way, recorded the piano part to slow speed, and sped it back up to the original tempo, and that's why you get that really fast, cool piano sound. This is a trick I've employed myself, primarily for drums. If I'm recording a song that the tempo is really fast and I can't quite hang on drums at that tempo, I'll actually experiment by pitching the global tempo down, recording the drums, and then pitching them back up. The next cool tip to mention is that the Tascam 244 actually has two different ways you can export your files if you're looking to digitize them. One of the really cool features is it has 4 separate tape outs that are located right here. So you can actually bounce out your stems as 4 individual tracks straight into your DAW for a lot easier mixing. It also has a line out jack right here, and this is used if you want to just send the entire mix into a digital audio workstation. And the final tip, which has been a theme of this channel, is always make sure to think ahead with your arrangements, especially if you're going to be ping-ponging. You really want to think the order in which you record instruments and determine ahead of time what tracks are going to be collapsed together, what are things you want to have on your own track. That'll really help you plan out and make the recording process a lot more smoothly. I hope this was helpful. If there's anything major you think I left out, leave a comment below, and one of these days I'll probably do a full breakdown of how to fully record on this machine. Thanks for tuning in.